Welcome everybody. Blessed are those that visit this channel and enjoy the content here.
For roughly the next 24 hours, you can get free samples of GamerSupps with free shipping anywhere in the world using my code in the link in the description box below. Today, my colleagues and I announced Last Free Nation, which is the new branding for my company with MonteCristo. It also features founding talents like Richard Lewis, Semler, I Will Dominate, Maui Snake, Wolf, Dagon and Goa. This is a new approach to how I'm navigating my career and helping others achieve freedom impossible to find elsewhere. Now, the reason why I'm making this branding and changing it and making it a full-on company is because I've worked in a number of companies around the world and with a number of companies across the continents, across the cultures of esports, and it doesn't matter what flavor, what bent, what angle, they are always hindering creativity, limiting the vision and scope of what's possible, even capping earning potential and the ability to share in the profits of companies and their valuations and equity and these sorts of things. And it is always done by mediocre minds who feel insecure and feel they have to control you and they have to keep you limited and you can't ever have an idea that was your idea. They have to take credit for it, or it has to be something that they don't feel supersedes them or changes what they've done with their brand. It's all short-term thinking. It's people who are too scared, who, well, quite frankly, are incapable of looking further into the future, and they absolutely do not understand that famous saying, you can shear a sheep many times, but you can skin it only once. And so what they do is they just skin the sheep and then they move on and they get the next sheep. And they don't care in the long term about the health of the sheep and the flock. They just hope that in the short term, they can keep selling those hides. So this is the opposite, you'll notice, of how these people portray themselves on social media in interviews with their branding, talking about their values and what the corporate culture is and going on panels and discussing, what should esports be and how are we as an industry addressing these things and encouraging and bringing on for the next type of blah, blah, blah. And no, it's all that garbage. It's all just PR. It's all optics like the rest of this bloody industry. There is no line. There is no rule. There is no like substructure. There is no sort of hierarchy of value. It's just nonsense. It's just money, optics, and then social control. And so I've left companies in the past because they wouldn't get rid of obnoxious, mediocre minds that were in middle management. I've left other companies because they couldn't handle any kind of criticism from the public or any kind of negative sentiment from people who sometimes are just even pretending to be your audience, aren't even the people who give a fuck about what you're doing. I've left companies because they wanted to do small-term power grabs that I thought were immoral or unprofessional or just unethical for people in their position. And so many of these companies are just dripping with an atmosphere of fear and apprehension around whether you can be funny and where the line is and how do you express yourself. And they're all penned in, often by imaginary dragons, by the notion of what if that happens? And nonsense like, well, we have to never offend anyone, or if anyone's ever offended, that's a sign that we did something wrong. Not understanding you can never speak truth to power. You can never point things out that are uncomfortable truths to people. You can never make a new point without offending someone's sensibility, someone's sense of like, I didn't think the world worked that way, or without even just provoking someone in a certain way. It's okay for people to be upset, to express it. Yeah, that's all good. That's all fine. But it's whether these companies then take that as like some sort of like an omen of like, abandon that entire course, revert course, we've got to go back. Like, it's all wrong. We can't do it this way. And I'm not talking just about the idea of not upsetting brands or whatever that nonsense is. I'm talking about creating a culture and a type of content where brands want to be associated with exactly that. Not that they're sold a false bill of goods. They're like, we're just a general, Disneyfied company. If you come on board with us, it's exactly what you're used to. No, that's the old way of thinking that has gotten esports into this stupid sheep pen. I want to be in a position where we're breaking out of it, and it's more in line with how people like the UFC brand themselves and the types of companies that want to be associated with the UFC and the kind of person who enjoys and watches the UFC. I'm tired of all these people simply not getting it. So I'm going to show them in the sense that I'm just going to do it myself and without them and without the need for them. I have no interest in ever being a part of that corporate esports industry world ever again. Look, some of those companies, if they see the light, are welcome to potentially contract my company to handle aspects of their promotion or work on some of their content with massive creative control, but I don't need them, and I'll do whatever content I want in and around their game, their tournament, whether they want me to or not. So what this means is all the shows you saw in the intro are now under this umbrella, with the possibility that more move over, more are created, depending on the financial health of where we're at as a company, depending on which talents we have and what people want to work on, depending on what our vision for this company is as it progresses over time. And everyone is going to get paid for the content and the shows that I'm making of the talent that are in this group. That's long been a dream of mine, to not just get them something, to get them well paid, good rates, some of the best rates even, not just competitive, some of the best. Because I've done a terrible job in the past with monetizing certain aspects and understanding branding and what times to push and what platforms, because I was putting all of my effort into the content, into creative endeavors, into leveling up my skill sets. But now I'm in a position where I found the right people to work with and surround myself with and the right structure. And so now sky is the limit. We can do whatever we want, basically, as long as the funding's there. I'm sick of finding talent out there, this raw, untapped potential that could be so special and is already showing signs of starting to blossom into something, and helping them make connections and promote them and put them on my platforms, only to see them get taken over by those same companies I've worked with and warped and brutalized and spat out the other end of a machine over and over and over again, that then just looks for another next talent growing up, the little rose growing up out of the side of the sidewalk through the cracks of the pavement, and then they pluck it, smell it for a day and throw it aside. I don't want to see that anymore. I want those people to be able to come up. I'll identify their talent. I'll bring them onto my shows. I'll start to see, we could develop something with this person. They could have their own identity within this company. They could even have their own show. They could partner on a show with me. And then they will start to do that and they will profit in doing so. And if they have the vision, they'll even get equity when they do that. So in general, you might notice I've moved away from the event model of going to the event and getting the day rate, which might sound great in the moment. It might be cool to be in front of the crowd. It might initially create some nice memories, but it gets real old real fast, and the downsides just get more and more and more, and it's diminishing returns, and all you make is the money. That's ultimately all you end up making. I'll still do maybe a major or something like that if it aligns with where both parties are at and it makes sense to do it. But aside from that, my platforms, my venues are where I'm going to create this content with online watch parties. Maybe I even bring in people and have commentary of my flavor on this particular channel. My content approach of how I see things, full spectrum, every aspect of the content I could want to be involved in. I make my own teasers and hype videos. I make my own documentaries and deep dives with proper editing and all the footage, etc. I make my own awards and Hall of Fame. That's not some BS optics enterprise where people just want to fucking virtue signal to the world. And I'll do it all through this company and funded through this company and with the people I want to work with, and no compromises in that sense. So it's all been, for me, about choosing the right people, because the last few years have been such a blessing to me in this industry at filtering out all the companies, people and modes of work that I don't want to be involved with. I don't want to partner with. I do not want to promote and help. I'm sick of cowards. I am disgusted by outrage mongers, and I am just so fucking bored of the obnoxiously woke. I want, and I've got people who understand it's not about just a day rate or working with the big brand or short-term benefits of being associated, because those same companies will use you up, they will play you against your fucking friends, and then they will unceremoniously throw you away. And when you look and see that happen to the person before you, and you go, well, they must have done something, they must have provoked him, that won't be me, you won't realize it will be you, and it is going to be, and it might already be you just don't know it yet. So I also want people where they're not just going to see that this succeeds and then go, right, can I hop on? Can I just come on just like all these other companies I'm working with a million plates spinning, and I'll just spread my brand and dilute it everywhere in the industry? No, I want people who get what we're building here, what we've already got right now. And so the founding group, I want people who can have equity in this company because they believe in the vision of it, and they'll get paid their rates for the content as well, and they'll make their money off that, and they'll make a nice income in that regard. Later talent who don't believe in the vision or only want to come in when it's late, they could potentially, if they're willing to come on the right exclusive basis, they could potentially have equity. Otherwise, they come in, like the rest of the industry, on the level that they're willing to engage with it at. And they can have their rates and they can get paid per piece of content, just like they do with the other companies. And mine will be a way cooler company compared to those. And then maybe one day they get it. But if they never get it, that's cool too. And if they're the right person still to work with, I'll work with them in this project. This is a place where we will create authentic, meaningful content that people can look back on and be proud of. They can look back on and feel a satisfaction that they got to express themselves in the way they really wanted to, that they tapped into what they were trying to say, that it wasn't bastardized and warped and forced through some fucked up corporate prism like you see elsewhere in this industry that is really just an industry of media rights and sponsorship. Well, guess what? I can get my own sponsorship. I can control aspects of media rights that work with what I want to do. This is one of the scenarios where once all that money's gone and the crowd's gone home, and that you've spent it all and you've enjoyed the temporary pleasures that it brought, what are you going to have? What legacy is there going to be for you? I know what mine's going to be, but a lot of people out there, their legacy will be they were a footnote in a larger chapter of a company that did a few things that were cool, a few things that were all right, some very scummy things, a lot of them that never came out in the public. And in the end, they were just one of many on a conveyor belt, no matter how talented and unique they may have been, that at the end of the day is replaced tomorrow and there's the only game in town, right? When you get replaced, where do you go? The smaller event, a side event? Sometimes there is no other game in town. This is another game in town. And this one is going to break all the rules of the rest of the content platforms. This isn't like one of those ones that you've seen before. I was on one myself and on Gamers where, yeah, you got the talent, right? But then the people above fuck it all up, or the people above don't have the vision, or even worse, the people above are like loser rejects who never quite got the gig they wanted in another industry. So they're going to try and force esports into the shape and hole that they think they could fill in that other industry, either as advertising to one day go to another industry, or to just fill out some fantasy, some little pipe dream of like, oh, it's just what I wanted to do and how I wanted it, and I wanted to be respectable and sports ball and corporations and they understand marketing and all that nonsense. This isn't about that. This is about who we are and what we want to say. Because I always was someone who was enamored with those visions of the frontier, unexplored territory, pirate utopias, alternate ways of living. And this is an alternate to the esports industry. This is the last free nation. This video was kindly supported by Ahmed Hadjou, Hades GOUD, Matt Pugnatio Rajcula, Adam Ochs, Animosity, Bot Pounder 420, Jensen Goh, Kovacevicd, Pacy, Tobias Bernasconi, Tosh, Thorin, and as always, a special thanks goes out to my main man, Jerky's Minion. Would you like to suggest a topic or a guest for my content? Would you like to ask a question in one of those monthly AMAs where sometimes I roast people? Do you want teasers to find out who the guests are for upcoming shows and interviews I'm doing? Maybe you want to be part of one of those cool, lengthy esports discussions that I have. Well, if any of those perks sound tantalizing to you, put your money where your mouth is and join the Skrilluminati today, where? Via the Patreon link in the description box below.